This is gonna be a different kind of video, as you can already tell. If you'd like more like this, then let me know, and I'll probably make more as we go on in the future. And for those of you who did see my reaction to part 1 of the Undertale analog horror, you'll know exactly how this goes, and you'll know exactly what to expect. But if you don't, I want to show you something very deep, dark, and disturbing. Now, I feel like most people know what Undertale is, or they've seen memes of it, or at least heard of it in some way, shape, or form. And even if you haven't, you've definitely heard Megalovania. We all know how the story usually goes. A human falls into the underground, they meet a flower, they meet a goat mom, they go on an adventure that is either filled with determination or love. For most of us, Undertale is a comfort game, a childhood game. It gives us so much nostalgia, and it's a game that you can honestly return to, and it's like nothing's even changed. All of it is an absolute masterpiece by Toby Fox. I couldn't agree more for anyone saying that Undertale is one of the best games ever. But recently, I watched Mount Ebott Disappearings by Dr. Flying Fish, and it completely shattered that safety. It asked a question I never ever wanted to think about. What happens to the monsters if they have nothing left? What if it isn't just the isolation that drives monsters a little bit mad? What if you take even more away from them? After the war with humanity and monsters, you see how they've been sealed in the underground, as the game explains. What if you even went further than that? I was expecting this to kind of be a standard spooky fan-made video, and I expected just a jump scare or two, because I'm pretty used to analog horror. But instead it really reeled me in with the lore, and before I knew it, it was soul-shattering. It felt nothing like what I spent my childhood loving. It's not like just any old horror AU where people are just a little bit creepier, or a bit more aggressive, or a bit more edgy. Break down exactly where things went wrong, and explain why that ending, well, why it broke me. The video starts in 2025, putting us in the shoes of two cave diving experts. Not the ones you see like today though. Scott and Jeffrey. They aren't going down there accidentally, they're actually exploring and looking for someone who did fall down, questioning if they even survived. Thousands of feet underground. Now I have to be real with you, when I first started watching I couldn't take it seriously. The audio in their comms is hilariously bad. I remember just laughing and kind of having a good time, honestly. Of course I knew it was on purpose, because most analog horrors have terrible audio when the time calls for it. But as they go deeper into what we recognize as the ruins after they see the flower bed, the bad audio stops being funny and starts feeling isolating. The ruins are empty, there's no tutorial to greet them, there's no Flowey either, there's literally no body at all. As if there's no danger to be seen or heard or think of. When Jeffrey does get attacked, we would maybe assume that was just any old monster, but we come to find out that everything just starts to shift. In Undertale, monsters attack with magic. They summon bones or fire, pellets, even vines. Heck, some of them just use icicles. There's just many kind of magic types, I guess. But here we hear screaming, and Jeffrey is having his flesh absolutely torn, not by claws, but by the grinding of teeth. When Scott asks what's happening, the voice on the radio just says, it's eating Jeffrey. Now, we don't really know what it is. We only know there's so many monsters in the ruins, but that line stuck with me. It just confirms that these monsters, they're not fighting with the knowledge they had before. They had combat knowledge. They knew how to use magic. They knew all of it. But eating? Why eating? There's butterscotch pies. There's spaghetti. There's ice cream. But they chose to eat a random fallen human. That's not something you do simply because you're angry or afraid. You do that because you're hungry and craving blood. They aren't casting spells anymore. They're literally using their teeth. Okay, so this is me editing. I totally forgot to go back on this one last piece right here. So we literally see, what's his name? Scott in his final moments. We see how badly he gets cooked over here. Right after Jeffrey gets eaten, Scott gets put in Davy Jones' locker. That's all I can say to describe it. And then we get to see what he saw in his final moments as well. Yeah, so that was pretty cool, I guess. Also, if you didn't notice by now, I'm obviously tired and I was recording this late at night because I had to get this part done. So you're gonna hear my sleepy-ish voice again, so here you go. I'll just tell you right now, this is where things get really, really good. Actually, you know what? Change of plans. I'm gonna continue this today instead. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content or you enjoy the video so far, and I'll be sure to make more like I said earlier. So in the next main video of this analog horror, we get into this rune film, and it's much different from what we saw from the caves. At first glance, it masquerades as a standard archival document recounting the coronation of King Asgore and Queen Toriel on May 14, 1945. It presents the golden age of the underground, lulling the viewer into a false sense of security with familiar history, but what seems to be triumph turns into fallen history very, very quick. The narrative fractures on the very same date. We learn that the core, the technological heart of monster civilization, aka what gives them the necessities for survival, suffers a catastrophic failure, incinerating 2/3 of Hotlands in an instant, as well as setting the rest of Hotlands on fire, and everyone's evacuating because people are dying and they don't know what to do. Naturally. Yet the true horror lies not in the explosion, but the silence that followed by King Asgore, who was paralyzed by the fear of resource scarcity and refused to deploy water reserves from waterfall to extinguish the flames. In an attempt to save water, he allowed his kingdom to burn and people to starve and panic and die, transforming a mechanical accident into a sociological collapse.
It's been 2 weeks since the explosion of the core. Since that horrifying event, the casualties have grown from 100 to 10,000 across the underground. Around 85% of the buildings in all of the underground, including the 2 capital cities, have been suffering from the electricity loss, since it is heavily limited and is only used in some of the busiest and most important parts of the 2 capitals. A week ago has been reported that the flu and cholera pandemic has broken out in the regions that were the most affected by the crisis. Lack of food, electricity, magic, and other important supplies have caused the most severe humanitarian crisis that our kind has never seen before. The royal scientists have been working hard on trying to restore the core, but it can take years for the core to finally be fully restored. Considering what is happening right now in the underground, it seems like a lot of monsters won't live long for that moment. And we wonder what we will do now. How are we gonna live? This is the question that everyone is asking. But the most realistic and, unfortunately, the worst case scenario is that we will go back to the Stone Age. Or even maybe, at that time, there won't be anyone left.
And all that the underground can really do is sort of just say what's going on, like Mediton's here on the news saying, yeah, we're pretty much screwed. I kind of wonder if King Asgore actually intended to do anything, or if he really intended to take any kind of action, because it really is different from the Undertale we know, where he doesn't hesitate to take action and he takes the souls of human children in order to break the barrier. But here it seems like he never got a chance to actually get to that point. But we'll carry on to the next part of this. The repercussions are immediate and absolute, and we witness a private confrontation between the king and queen that strips away their benevolent personas, meaning we see their, well, more raw sides.
You need to rest. You've been looking awfully exhausted lately.
I can't rest. Asgore, do you even realize what is happening? The core is gone. It exploded, and 2/3 of the territory of Hotland is in ruins from the shockwave of fire. And that's not it. The whole underground is suffering from the migration crisis. The civilians from Hotland are running to the waterfall or the capital. There are dozens of monsters stuck on the border of the capital because there are just too much of them coming. There have been also high numbers of clashes between the civilians and the guards. Oh, and how could I forget? Since the core is gone, magic is now dangerously limited. Without the core, we can't generate food or magic. We can't have electricity or filtration of the air.
But we don't need core to make food.
Asgore, do you really not understand the whole situation? Are you really that ignorant and naive? What about the electricity? Without it, you can't make anything nowadays. There have been reports of monsters suffering from famine in the most distant parts of the underground because not only they don't have any connections with the core, but also they are suffering from the loss of electricity. They are starving. The monsters are starving. And I am trying to come up with any idea on how to fix all of this, which is weird. Since you are the ruler of the underground, you should be the one thinking about how to fix that.
Toriel is no longer a patient teacher, but a desperate survivor screaming against the apathy of her husband. She details a world in freefall, mass migration, riots at the capital, and the populace starving because magic cannot be generated without the core. Asgore's refusal to act, his plea for her to simply rest, reveals a leader who has abandoned his duty, at least from our perspective, paralyzed while his subjects turn on one another. Also, this is me as I'm editing again, but I had to mention that Toriel literally digs into Asgore so freaking bad. Like, I still remember, like, they woke up Azrael because it was probably nighttime. They were waiting for him to be asleep to be talking like this. He started arguing and stuff. It's crazy. It's too sad. I could hardly watch it.
About how to save your people from starvation?
I did, but I...
What do you mean, what? You didn't think of that? Look at me! I've been eating as little as possible so that Kara and Azrael could eat more. And you didn't think of how to make something so that everyone could eat as much as they want.
Toya, I'm trying.
You don't give a shit about your own people.
That's not true. Nothing.
Oh, y'all argue in front of the kids. Y'all argue in front of the kids. How could you? Oh my gosh. How could you? How could you do that? Y'all got a human and a little goat. Toriel expected better from you. Expected better from you. Nah, this probably canon. This is more accurate.
Go back to sleep now. I will evacuate everyone from Hotland, and then order the royal scientists to find any solution to fix the core.
The statistics displayed on screen paint quite the grim picture of his negligence. Casualties skyrocket from 100 to 10,000 in a matter of weeks. The smoke from the fires combined with the failure of air filtration systems births a pandemic that the underground is ill-equipped for to survive. It is here that the timeline diverges most cruelly. Kara, being like the only human there, and who is also supposedly the beacon of hope for monster kind, succumbs to a sacrificial plot. Wait, no. That's the original timeline. She actually succumbs to the flu.
After a long time of suffering, when we thought it couldn't get worse, another tragedy happened in the royal family. Kara Dreamer, human that was adopted by the royal family, got terribly sick by flu. A week later, Kara Dreamer passed away from the virus that was too strong for Chare's already weakened organism. The king and queen are mourning the loss. The child of man was buried underneath the golden flowers with the view to the sky, in royal family's private garden. These flowers were deeply loved by Kara. Now she can finally rest in peace right underneath her favorite flowers.
Their human immune system fails against a toxic environment, resulting in a death devoid of meaning or heroism. So with Kara being buried, the plan to break the barrier is pretty much gone and out the window, leaving the monsters trapped in the dark with literally no hope or exit. I mean, it's not like Kara being there really gave the monsters an exit the very first time anyway. The original timeline for Undertale is already filled with tragedy as we know it, so honestly I could only imagine the grief that the royal family is going through at this point. But as sad as it sounds, Kara's death might be the least of their worries. 1 month post-disaster, the silence returns. We enter the home of the queen in the ruins, now a tomb of isolation. What seems to be diary entries from Toriel, it shows what her mind is going through. It reveals a mind fracturing under the weight of cold and starvation. When Asgore finally returns, manic and delusional with news of potential fixes for the core from Alphys, he steps into his worst nightmare.
Tori, I'm home. I was talking with Dr. Alphys and it seems like we could fix the core earlier than we thought. We could finish it before we will lose more of our civilians. Tori? Hello? Is anyone home? Oh, Tori, here you are. Did you hear what I told you?
Now remember, we've literally seen Toriel repeating, I want to eat, I want to eat, I want to eat. So not only is she malnourished, but I think she's going insane. And this had to be the most disturbing point for me in this entire analog horror. Seeing this face so uncanny, I don't know. I mean, it didn't give me nightmares, but I think it just ruined my childhood, honestly. I'm supposed to be looking at this, not this. Regardless though, he calls out for his family only to find Toriel sitting alone in a room, emaciated and vacant. She's eating without a doubt, with the blood on her mouth clearly fresh and visible, and this is definitely what I feared would happen. When pressed about the whereabouts of the children, she does not stop. She could only look at Asgore. With Kara long dead, the implication is absolute. The starvation has stripped away Toriel's morality, driving her to consume her own son Azrael. This timeline deconstructs Undertale and turns it into simply a game of survival, with Asgore silent, only staring at what he, sees as his wife, consuming her child. He could only look in horror, as anyone would. And then the only result we really get is that she was either banished or taken away. However it went, she was just not there anymore. I don't think I would want to live with a cannibal either, especially if my own child was eaten. And by this point, all the monsters perceive that the royal family is just absolutely gone, and what seemed to be any kind of hope, if at all, is just shattered, it's gone, and the monsters have no royal family to really rely on. And at this point, it's starting to look like every man for himself, or every monster for themselves. It really shows that even the tiniest changes in the Undertale timeline could really change how the universe goes. Or not universe, but world of Undertale, whatever, same thing. I think analog horrors about indie games or iconic characters or franchises have to be definitely one of my favorites. I mean, literally just look at how horrifying this can be for an Undertale fan. I definitely see the potential in this series, and I really hope it continues, and I hope to see more work from Dr. Flying Fish in the future. I know it's been a while for you guys as well since you've seen a video from me. Well, it's been like 7 days, so you'll probably get a reaction since that's easier for me to upload after this. But if there's anything we learned today, no matter how much you endure, no matter how empathetic you can be, how anyone may be, they can always give up on their hopes and dreams. Good night.